of the work that we're doing. So we're really high tech today, so it's exciting. And we have people here, we have people on YouTube, we have people on Zoom. So I'm gonna go ahead and reshare my screen because it shut down unexpectedly. Okay, can everybody see the first slide here? If you can't, shout out, it's okay. Yes, all right, perfect. All right, so again, the Family and Community Engagement Policy 3170 is, again, the foundation of how we are defining family and community engagement as a district, and also the roles that we all play to ensure effective family and community engagement and successful. All right. So we always start with looking at our moving to the next level and how this work all aligns. And again, family and community engagement, truly the bookends to this work, renewing relationships with our families and students, fortifying connections with our community partners. Now, when we say families, again, that does include the student voice. So we did share this with our guidance department to share out, but please, if you have, your students at home, have them talk about this, talk about the roles of the students and the expectations of families, have those conversations, share that in the feedback form. We also, final year of the 5x25, so we really want to make sure we are doing all we can to achieve these goals. So we are looking really at number 4 here, amplifying all voices and cultivating those partnerships. Number 5, activating the partnerships, expanding learning beyond the classroom. So this is where we talk about that co-collaboration with the dual capacity framework we'll look at shortly. The family engagement team, we continue to grow and thrive, small but mighty, but we are getting there. So we have Dr. Alyssa Monfilettos, our assistant superintendent, myself, Dr. Jennifer Rich, the director. We also have our 2 FACE supervisors, Ms. Catrice Huff and Mr. Anthony Vaccaro, Mr. Joe Agro, our parent advocate, Ms. Colette Clemens, our principal clerk, and then we have Ms. Shyla Early and Ms. Toya Carr as community education leaders, and coming in October, you will be able to see them at our new family resource centers. So keep an ear out for that. As a district, and I think as I'm looking at who's here on Zoom and who's here in person, you may be familiar with this visual. We have been looking at it for now, we're going into year 3 of a district-wide family engagement framework. So beyond Policy 3170, we have a research-based framework for best practice in family engagement. This year, year 3, we are looking to really ensure this framework is an actionable living. We see it when we're walking into places. So when we talk about families as co-creators, encouragers, monitors, advocates, everyone shows up differently, but we know that there are many, many ways to engage with families. So we keep doing trainings with our department, but being here today and providing that extremely honest and critical feedback is how we continue to grow and learn from each other. So the purpose of Board of Ed Policy 3170, so again, establishes a framework and responsibilities for the implementation of strategies to increase effective and authentic parent and family engagement throughout BPS. And I believe the documents will be posted in the chat here so that you can get the full Board of Ed Policy 3170 and a copy of the presentation. And if you don't, please, we'll put my email in the chat there. You can always email me for that. And again, this policy also seeks to strengthen the partnership among parents, families, community partners, and the Board of Education by providing multiple opportunities for parent, family, and community engagement. So we're going to look at a couple slides and we're going to have discussions about them. So you're not just here, because we're not just here to hear me talk about things. So there are some key areas in the policy that are it's really critical that we get our feedback from our families and community on. So how we are defining family engagement, the Board of Education responsibilities and expectations, the Parent Congress purpose, consideration, and annual recertification, the district's responsibilities, school responsibilities, and parent and family responsibilities. And if at any time I am going too fast or you have a question or need me to repeat anything, please whether you're on Zoom, here in person, on YouTube, and you're sending messages through our Facebook page, let me know. All right. So we currently define family engagement as active voice, involvement, and presence of parents and caregivers working with all in school, home, and/or community to ensure ongoing student learning, wellness, and development. So I just want to take a minute and see, does anybody have any feedback, comments, feelings, hopes or dreams about the definition? You can even just do like a thumbs up. Oh, we've got a hand. All right, Ms. Barr.
Good morning, Ms. Jennifer. As I'm reading it, it's kind of speaking to me a little bit because I don't see language in there about our children that are without parents or caregivers.
All right, thank you, Ms. Barr. And this is exactly the type of feedback that when we build this definition, it is a collective effort. So I know we're gonna drop that feedback form in the chat again, but we'll also be saving the chat. So Ms. Barr, if it's easier, you can either use the feedback form, put it in the chat as well, just so we memorialize that.
All right, I appreciate that. I mean, it's a concern because it is a growing population, and I think we really have to be on point about the language around that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right, anybody else? Okay, we'll keep it moving. I know it's gonna be a rainy day later, I guess. All right, so we have multiple opportunities that the current responsibilities and expectations for the Board of Education under the policy. So we're looking at opportunity 1, parent and family engagement at the school level, and this is how the board would support that. So looking at how parents and families will be invited to engage in various school-based opportunities. So some examples, the family math nights, open house, Title I meetings, parent-teacher conferences or family teacher conferences. And again, to Ms. Barr's point, a lot of the shifts that we made last year was to really look at the word family and how we define family, because we know may not be mom and dad, maybe we're uncle, aunts, grandma, grandpa, aunties, uncles, neighbors, coaches, pastors. So how we define family, and again, yes, in this transitioning and growing place that we're in, continues to evolve. So again, supporting that school level engagement. The next opportunity, looking at the district level. So parents and families will be invited to engage in various district-based opportunities. So we have the BPS parent centers, which are now transitioned into family resource centers. So those, we know that's an update we'll have to make. So we have in-person and virtual programming there. The community schools, Saturday academies, there's urban forum, there's the high school showcase, there's budget meetings. And we know that families become overwhelmed with how many meetings and stakeholder meetings, but providing multiple opportunities. So how we define that and what that looks like, we can dig deeper into. Opportunity 3, parent and family governance. So at the school level, each school will invite parents to serve on school-based committees, be part of the school-based decision-making, your school-based management team. Parents at each school will be invited to elect a parent representative to serve on a BPS board recognized parent group. So those SBMT meetings, extremely foundational. And so those are those questions too that we encourage. Ask your school, when's that school-based management team meeting? And as a community member as well. And I see Mr. Spidel has his hand up. Mr. Spidel, you can unmute and ask. And yes, just like this, please raise your hand as I'm going along, so that's fine.
Thank you. Thanks, Jennifer. So the only group that the SBMT elects members to is the District Parent Coordinating Council. So I would ask that that be reworded to serve and be elected to the District Parent Coordinating Council. No other group is appointed through the SBMT. All their parent groups can go, anybody can apply to those. You have to be elected to the DPCC.
All right, thank you, Mr. Spidel. And again, as we continue to grow parent groups and making sure that regulations and policies align with the current, requirements for each parent group. Thank you, Mr. Spidel. And opportunity 4, so the district level governance. The Board of Education recognizes that parent groups play an important role in the education of Buffalo Public School students. To recognize the value of these groups to the important work educating students, the Board of Education will invite interested parent to come and serve on Buffalo Schools Parent Congress, which functions as a partner in district level decision making. And speaking of our Board of Ed, we have here in person Honorable Board Member Mr. Larry Scott just joined us. Thank you. Morning. So we've got some people on Zoom, we've got some people watching on YouTube. We're kind of mixing and matching our engagement and stakeholder feedback. So thank you for being here. All right, any other feedback on those opportunities? And again, this is not your only time to provide feedback. Take time, digest it. You also have the feedback form. I know this is a lot. Dr. Reynolds.
Do you mind if I take us back to the definition just for a second?
Oh, yes. Oh, yep, definitely. Let me.
Just a quick consideration that just kind of came to mind. I'm wondering if, so we have active voice involvement and presence of parents and caregivers working with all in the school, home, and or community to ensure ongoing student learning, wellness, and development. I'm wondering if we should consider removing the word student and just keeping it more broad, because I believe that with the involvement and engagement of parents and caregivers and families, everyone learns, including the parents, including school staff, including students, as well as the wellness and development of all really heightens. So I don't know, that just popped in my mind. Of course, we're always wanting to connect family engagement to increase student learning, but it really is their learning, the student learning, as well as the staff who work along with our student learners. Just a thought.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Reynolds. And Dr. Reynolds also joining us as our chief over our department and community schools, adult education, and athletics. And thank you. And again, that also aligns with some of the work that our department is doing, is that co-collaborative learning from each other, that we do have a tremendous amount to learn from our families and community. We know there's that community cultural knowledge that is extremely, extremely necessary. I saw another hand up. And Dr. Reynolds, if you wouldn't mind just putting that in the chat or using the feedback form just so we can capture that.
I sure will.
Thank you. Oh, 3 participants raising hands. Excellent. Who was first there, Anthony? Oh, Ms. Toro.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I just wanted to piggyback on what Dr. Reynolds said, because I do know from my experience in my school, a lot of times families and parents think that it's a student event. And sometimes I do know that I've come into situations where they want to drop off the student and not stay behind. So I explained to them. So I also agree with us removing that word student. They will all know that it's for everybody and not just for the student.
Thank you so much, Ms. Toro. And I mean, again, we are recording this, and Admir, is this coming through on YouTube when I'm holding the mic up? Okay, so we will, but again, as much as you can, memorialize in the chat and using the feedback form. But thank you, thank you. All right, who was next with the hands? Did they put their hands down? Oh, Ms. Barr. All right, Ms. Barr.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's wonderful because I think it speaks to our English language learners. It's more welcoming, and I think in a way of us trying to figure out how to continue to engage them, when they see that it's not restricted that way in terms of the language, that was there. I think it's going to make it a lot easier. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Barr. And again, the power of even one word in that definition and how it is perceived. So those are the exact things we want to be thinking about. And we had another hand, I believe. Mr. Spidel.
Can you show number 3 again? You had all four of them up there. So number 3 doesn't say anything about holding the schools accountable for making sure they have a rep for the district parent coordinating council. So that's part of the partnership. They're responsible we are all over them to make sure they have a Pell, but we should have the same push for their district parent coordinator council rep. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spidel. Thank you. So again, please, if you can also put that in the chat, and Mr. Spidel, you know how to also send me an email, whatever's gonna be the best way, because I do wanna make sure we are memorializing this feedback and making sure everything is where we need it to be. All right, any other questions regarding the definition or the Board of Ed? Anybody here in real life? And I feel bad, I kind of am looking at the screen and trying to look up, and we got a camera, my goodness. It's still a little early here today. All right. So this feeds right into the conversation around the parent Congress groups, the purpose, the consideration, and annual recertification. So if anybody is unfamiliar with Parent Congress, we're going to talk about that a little bit. These are our parent leaders at the district level. So the goal of these Parent Congress groups really is ensuring opportunities for parent and family engagement, that it occurs at multiple levels. So going beyond the school-based, we are looking at some of that district leadership, community leadership. The Parent Congress consists of elected representatives with equal representation of BPS board recognized parent groups that help inform the following district level decision-making mandates. So we have our district comprehensive improvement plan. And what that is at the district level, there are specific goals, leadership goals, academic goals. We are DSIP, and that's the abbreviation. So please let me know. I know we are alphabet soup at all times. But we are priority 5. We have an entire priority around family and community engagement. So please ask questions about that if you want. We also have a district committee of stakeholders, and that brings together the entire leadership that's working with the district comprehensive improvement plan, ensuring that collaboration. We have our parent leaders and strategic community partners that are part of that. The consolidated application, what that's about, that's all that title funding. So it's federal money that is, again, we have some family engagement support through that. We have multilingual academic programs. And there are some meetings coming up for that next week, and then other shared decision-making opportunities. So there may be, well, I'm sure everybody, you get the notices, we need your feedback. And again, truly, truly critical. And the survey we created for this is super short. It's a couple questions to provide that feedback. All right. Any comments, questions, thoughts on the purpose of Parent Congress? Oh, we've got a question from the audience here.
Hello, this is Adriana Zulich. So I'm looking, some words are kind of jumping out at me, like all, opportunities, elected. And I'm wondering if FACE has considered maybe getting more parents involved in the decision-making in Parent Congress. I feel like right now, they're like an exclusive group of people, it feels like. So when parents are getting involved, you're like, oh, I went to this parent group, there's this leadership. I went to this parent group, overlapping leadership. So I'm just wondering, have we thought about how to get different parents? Because it seems to be a lot of the same parents, and there's really no way in, and the leadership often, it's unopposed, or there really isn't an election, it's just a de facto leader. So I'm just wondering how can we open it up to be a little more democratic for parents to be involved, because Parent Congress does seem exclusive, and I think we'd like to avoid that.
No, thank you for sharing that. And again, this is what I'm talking about. Your personal experiences are extremely important and it matters when we hear all of this. So thank you. And please, again, I'm going to say this probably 500 times, but make sure you memorialize that in writing, in the survey. And I believe you have provided some feedback in the survey already. I did check that. So we do have some additional questions, I believe. All right, question in the chat, Mr. Vaccaro, you wanna?
Hi, question in the chat from Ms. Toro. Does the Congress Department invite parents, families, and caregivers to different town hall meetings such as discussions on the code of conduct?
Okay, thank you, and great. And again, that's looking at how Parent Congress is communicating and sharing information with our families throughout the district and how they are promoting those events and building leadership. So these are great questions. I do see some more things popping up in the chat. Were they questions or just additional? Okay. Oh, sorry, we couldn't hear that. So we had a parent in our audience here that was sharing some of their personal feedback around the Parent Congress and feeling like it was more of an exclusive group and that finding it a little more difficult and having some barriers to building additional parent leadership. So that was what that was. And again, this is, at this point, we are gathering feedback. As we step into the next level, we have conversations around that. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? And thank you. And we have some more people joining us in person. Welcome. All right.
Dr. Rich,
Oh.
I'm wondering if for the family member who shared that feedback regarding the inclusivity of perceived inclusivity of parent congress, I'm wondering if our parent congress reps, if you don't mind sharing in the chat, your contact information so that that family member can reach out directly to you. Perhaps you all can, speak directly to her to provide her with more information about how she or others can potentially join your organizations. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Reynolds. And I do actually, the parent that's in the audience right now, I think attends multiple parent Congress group meetings. I think it's, and I don't want to speak for her, so I think it's just her personal experience that she's feeling, despite attending meetings, there is that perception of an exclusive higher group that's making decisions amongst the parents, was what she was sharing, was her experience. And so again, thank you everybody, because this is the feedback that why we have these annual reviews, right? Because there's always that ebb and flow. All right. We have another question in the chat.
Another question in the chat from Ms. Toro. Are DPCC members assigned to schools or sectors?
All right, so we will look into that a little bit more, but the DPCC members, so that's the District Parent Coordinating Council, and we're going to take a brief look at all of those groups shortly. That is a member that is elected from your individual school that you are part of as a parent, and there is an election held at your school-based management team or SBMT. So there isn't an assignment of the DPCC member. It is a school-based election that the expectation is that when you attend these meetings, you come back to the school-based management team meetings to share and have collective conversations. Oh, and I see Mr. Spidello, so I just popped in the chat there. All right, and thank you for sharing your numbers there. Okay. Any other feedback on purpose? Anything in Facebook? Oh, sorry, yep.
Thank you. Larry Scott, and before I was a board member, I co-chaired the Buffalo Parent Teacher Organization, and at the time, we played with other parent groups a major role in making some major revisions to the parent involvement policy. Just one thing I would say is that I think there has to be some autonomy and some equity with each parent organization. And for example, I think when I was involved, we made it a primary responsibility to recruit our membership. We didn't so much rely on the schools and staff to recruit our membership. We were an independent organization, and it was our responsibility to do that. And another thing I remember doing too is that with these 4 major decision-making opportunities, we always, I think on an annual basis, would put out something saying, these are opportunities for parents to be involved in decision-making, so that it kind of then allows everyday parents to participate and be involved in making decisions, and not just the leadership of those parent organizations.
So for everybody on Zoom, if you were unable to hear that, we had Honorable Board Member Scott sharing his experience, because again, he was at the inception of some of these groups and played a really, really important role in getting some of them going. But one of those things was not to rely on the schools, but as the parent leaders, getting out and really talking to the families, talking to the community, getting your membership up and sharing the meeting information. So it wasn't always, the same parent leaders going to all the meetings, but you were getting, they're like, oh wait, I am free on this Wednesday. I can go to this meeting. I can't go to all of them, but I can go to this one. So sharing that information. And did I summarize that well enough? Okay. Okay. And I believe we had another hand. Mr. Spidel.
Yeah, what Mr. Scott just said is accurate for 5 of the 6 parent groups. The 6th parent group, which is the district parent coordinating council group, is the governing group of the district. So we don't recruit. The school is responsible to recruit, because they want someone that's looking for that school's values to bring back to our meeting, so we can support that school through the partnership of the whole district. So we're not responsible to find the parent for each school, because we would be handpicking who we want. It's responsibility of that school to handpick who they want to represent their school for their individual school values. The rest of the parent groups totally understand what Mr. Scott said, but in this case, not for the district parent coordinating council.
And thank you for that feedback, Mr. Spidel. And I think to both points, helping families really understand what the value of being involved in these groups are. So even though with DPCC or the District Parent Coordinating Council, there's an election, but do parents want to be involved in it? Do they know about DPCC? So how are we getting that information out to get them excited to be part of parent leadership in the district? So I think to that, there's like a both and there, that we really want to get people excited. And again, with schools, so some of the trainings that we do, family engagement, when we do our administrator trainings, our teacher trainings, we talk about the parent groups, and we talk about how it is just such a critical thing to have your parents involved, and especially that election for the district parent coordinating council. So, we do that on the administrative district side, but I think families, hearing from families about how important it is, really does make a difference. And I believe I saw another hand up. Dr. Reynolds?
Dr. Ritchie, you hit what I was going to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think as soon as I was like, oh, I bet she's gonna say something similar. And then I do see our chat here. I just wanna, okay. All right. So we're continuing with Parent Congress, so as questions come up. So as we talked about this, so this is, yes, you are a part of a board recognized parent group. And what that means is this is, again, district level. This is not just the PTO, and I'm not saying just, because those are also extremely important, the PTO or PTA at your school level. Parent Congress, to be in those groups and to continue to be recertified as a board recognized parent group, you have to have bylaws and have a greater number of parents who make up the membership, no fewer than 10 members, and serve a district-wide purpose. So you're collaborating with the district, having difficult and critical conversations with district leadership. And we may not always agree, but we're going to try to find the best way forward, always, always focusing on the success of our students in this district and, you know, never losing sight of that. So just a little explanation on that, have a greater number of parents who make up the membership. So say you have 10 members, you should have at least 8, you know, greater than half of your membership be parents, because we also know we have very, very amazing community partners. We have parents that have kids that have graduated. We have so many people that just want to stay involved. So we may have multiple members, unless again, you are part of the District Parent Coordinating Council that is an elected parent representative. And then there is the annual recertification. So to remain active with Parent Congress, and again, this is currently what is in Board Policy 3170. To remain active with Parent Congress, parent groups will be required to quarterly submit to the BPS Department of Family and Community Engagement the following. So agenda and minutes from at least 2 of the parent group formal meetings. So again, this is quarterly. So you may not necessarily have a meeting every month because we know holidays, snow days, things are happening. The roster for your parent group, the bylaws, and those are submitted at the beginning and end of each year, because we know the bylaws will be fairly consistent. And evidence of participating in Parent Congress sponsored events. So this is, again, what Honorable Board Member Scott and a couple people were talking about, is that Parent Congress is stepping out and doing collaborative events. This is how you're getting the word out. And, you know, we're a few years now through COVID, but we do know that there was a shift, right? And we're still really rebuilding that. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of parents and families hearing from parents and families. Because despite me being a mom myself, I always have this district hat on. So, all right, any feedback on this one? Oh, we've got one in our live audience here. Okay, sorry.
Are the, under the part for the parent groups bylaws submitted beginning year and end of year, are those bylaws something that's fluid and that changes? Are they set by the district? Are they set by the parents? Is it like an evolving thing? How does that part work?
Okay, thank you for that question. And to those on Zoom that may not have been able to hear it quickly, it was, how are those bylaws created? So those are not created by the district, they are created by the parent groups themselves. And it is a collective conversation is the expectation. And again, they review their bylaws annually. So yes, it is relatively fluid. So just like with our board policies or anything else, there's an annual review, updates are made accordingly. And again, as a collective decision of that parent Congress group. And again, if you could even make note of that, so how we define bylaws, that might be, you know, okay. Okay, and thank you, Dr. Stevens. I do see the, you know, quarterly feels like a lot. Previously, in the last iteration or version of this policy, it was an annual submission. So we were seeing that as an additional burden, trying to get everything together at the end of the year. But again, always good to have this feedback and conversation, and adjustments are always, always possible. All right, any other? Okay. Okay, and just real quick here, we have our current parent Congress group. So I say that because again, this is not the end all be all of ways to have a parent group or be part. We're always looking for new and evolving parent groups that truly represent families and how we can grow those. So we have the Buffalo Parent Teacher Organization, and they do a tremendous job around advocating for transportation equity, curriculum, and this is honestly just a really fantastic, they're all fantastic, but they have, this is the one where teachers, so the district, it really is a collaborative meeting. You have teachers at this, you have parents at this, you have community members. So the conversations, go in a different way. So each group, so the District Parent Coordinating Council that you have been hearing about, that is, again, they're talking about policies, different things like that. So then they also have district leaders coming in and presenting, and you really learn a lot and have some great conversations. And they tremendously, again, another big advocacy group. We also have our most valuable parents, MVP. Oh my goodness, out and about in the community, they're working in our schools, they are doing programming for family resource centers with the parent to parent. And we always tell schools too, these are the parents and community members that you want to work with. I mean, literally all of them. But then we have MEAC, Multilingual Educational Advisory Committee. Fantastic, amazing work. They actually will collaborate with our HR department to ensure hiring equity, that we have teachers and staff that represent the students in front of them, really advocating for our English language learners, our Ls, our multilingual families coming in, bilingual, and our refugee and immigrant population. We also have community health workers. So this is a group that is really big on building the leadership within our students and the toolkits of our parents to really help with that social emotional growth. They do a ton of advocacy around wellness, healthy eating initiatives, and then CPAC, our Special Education Parent Advisory Committee. So this is the group too that if you have questions about your IEP, the CSE, the alphabet soup of special ed, and you are just feeling it, this group, fantastic advocates. They are comprised of parent members that can come to meetings with you, sit with you, really problem solve, and they work directly with our BPS special education department. I should say that multilingual also works directly with our multilingual department. So many of these groups are just extremely collaborative already with the departments that they support too. Any questions about, yes? Oh, sorry. Oh, I forgot the mic here. Sorry, maybe we'll get an extra mic.
Hello, my name is Jessica. I'm a Skeetha. I work with Erie County Office of Health Equity. And I just have a question. So I've looked up some of these groups, and I'm not sure if, like, on the website and different areas, the most updated contacts, like the lead contacts for these groups, are updated. Is there any way for community stakeholders to have the lead contact information for each of these groups?
All right, thank you, Jessica. And yes, so we are actually updating all of that information right now. And I see Mr. Barnes taking some notes, who's our amazing, just does all sorts of 500 different things, so I can't ever just say one. But you will see in school buildings and even in City Hall, if you're going in for a meeting, we're updating our Parent Congress posters. So there are posters that have a little bullet summary, or they were a little more, a lot to read this past year, so we're always evolving. So we're gonna bullet point and then make sure that contact is part of it, and I will work with Parent Congress, make sure we have that up-to-date contact. And we'll have our updated QR code. So if you do look at those posters currently, and this is for everybody, we're always updating IT. So the last IT update killed that QR code. So the QR code that is on that poster, we are aware it does not work right now, and it takes you to like a page not found, 404, whatever is going on. But you can always go to the Department of Family Engagement page, and we have that information. The QR code that is on this slide is correct, and we'll take you to that summary page, but we're gonna make sure that we get that information out. And this is how, as a district and as a department, we are supporting just, making sure families know about what's out there. And I see, oh, okay, I'm just responding, okay. All right, any other questions, comments, feedback? Okay, so now this one, the current district responsibilities, I put this as a QR code because there was a huge, big, long list of everything. Let me see, I mean, I could pull, let me see. And then we'll make sure that we get this link in the chat here too. I just want to give everybody some time to look through these. And again, Zoom team here, hang in just a second and we'll make sure we get that link in the chat for you. Oh, and for our YouTube audience that is going to either be viewing now or viewing later, that QR code is scannable from your YouTube video. So you can scan it, and what that link is just breaking it out. Instead of looking at the entire document, it just breaks out that part for you. Okay, and I'll just kind of go through some of this, and I know people, I see some people reading and taking notes, but the district responsibilities. So again, there's those different ways that families are engaging. So providing opportunities for families to engage in diverse roles. And this is, again, aligned with that framework that we have, the dual capacity building framework, that families are seen as co-creators, supporters, encouragers, monitors, advocates, and models. So some of your most engaged families, that's the child's getting to school on time. They got their homework done. That is family engagement, right? They are, I mean, even myself as a parent, I can't make it to every single meeting or PTO, but I'm making sure the work is done because sometimes you're just tired. So, giving yourself that grace, but knowing that there are multiple ways that we engage our families. So that co-creators, advocates, and models, that's where we're including families as partners in school decision, government, advocacy, the PTO, PTA, committees, other parent organizations, and again, just offering multiple opportunities and honoring all the ways that families show up. So like, again, I say, also knowing how to work with the school there, and then supporters, that we're supporting them with providing recruitment, training work, and schedules to involve families as volunteers and audiences at the school or in other locations to support student and school programs, meeting families where they are. So when we do our trainings, we're always telling people like, family engagement is not a fund source and it is not a box to check. So how are we truly, truly working with our families and not speaking at, but speaking with? And sometimes it's more of a mouth shut, ears open conversation, that we have so much to learn from our families and community and honoring that space. So that encouragers and monitors, so that support families' involvement in their children and learning activities at home, including homework and other curriculum-related activities and decisions. And one of the things, and I just kind of know some of this stuff too, because this is how our department supports a lot of it, but one of the initiatives we've undertaken now as we transition the parent centers into family resource centers are offering regular homework help nights, but they are a family homework help night. You're not just dropping your kids off, you are coming collectively so that the families are learning strategies, the students are learning strategies. So we are currently in meetings with surrounding colleges and universities to have some of their teacher students coming in and getting some hours. So that is some of the work behind the scenes that's starting to come out. So keep a work, like we have the flyer here, but October 7th, the Family Resource Centers are opening. I always got to plug that. Lafayette High School, East High School, Bennett, and Lafayette, or wait, South Park. All right, and then communicating. To communicate with families about programs and students' progress through effective school to home and home to school communication. Making every effort to provide communication in the family's home language, providing opportunities for families and students to share their hopes and dreams for their future. So that's part of, again, a lot of the training that we do is those hopes and dreams conversations and being very intentional to ask families what their hopes and dreams for their student are. Asking the student, what are your hopes and dreams? I know as a parent myself, I've never been asked, what's your hopes and dreams for your child? I was, wow. And we do have in the chat. Oh, to pull it up on the screen here. Okay. Let me multitask this just a second. Hi, everyone. And did that get, I didn't see in the chat the link for it? Okay, so it is also, okay, thank you. It's also in the chat there. Oh, here we go. Sorry. We had also the Family Resource Center flyer is in there.
Dr. Richard, you wanna, if you make me, allow me to share, you wanna keep your presentation where you're at, I can go ahead and share. Are you trying to put the responsibilities on the screen right now?
Oh, yeah, I've got it. Oh, wait, yes. Okay. And thank you, everybody, for our morning meeting as we continue to evolve in our technology ways. But thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Yeah, I think we hopefully have this now. Okay, so Mr. Spidel, are you able to see this and everybody else? Okay.
Can you enlarge it just a little bit for those of us that are on a tablet?
Oh, yeah.
That's much better, thank you.
No problem. Okay. So this is why I kind of made that just a link as opposed to just making a huge slide with a bunch of words on it that becomes extremely overwhelming to look at. So those are kind of those key aligned with the framework that we work with, how we are supporting and collaborating with families. So in addition to that, ensuring for mutual respect, communication, and accountability between school parent and district parent. So providing a mechanism for parents and families to report concerns. We do have a link on the website for that, and I can share that if anybody cannot find it. Work in collaboration with BPS Parent Congress, other parent leaders, as well as district and community stakeholders to develop and monitor the district parent and family engagement plan. Promote and support the Parent Engagement Liaison Program. Provide a collaborative process, leadership, training to Parent Congress and other parent leaders. Collaborate biannually with the BPS Parent Congress and other parent and community leaders to review and revise. So we actually need to update that one because that was supposed to be annually. The Parent and Family Engagement Policy 3170. So we are required to do an annual review here. So we will make sure that is an update. And then, oh, here we go, in conducting the annual evaluation. And then making sure that we are identifying and try to address any barriers to participation. So especially those who are economically disadvantaged, disabled, have limited English proficiency, limited literacy, or racial or ethnic minority. The district will use these findings to design strategies to support successful school and family interactions. So we are always, and again, this is where when you look at that district comprehensive improvement plan, when we talk about barriers to family engagement, we are always having those conversations. And as we even heard today, we know we have to continue to evolve and make shifts and really listen to what these barriers are about and try to address them in a collaborative way. Inviting families to engage in district activities and events like the Parent and Family Engagement Summit. You might just know this now as the BPS Summit, because it is a district-wide, fantastic, super, super fun. This year, we were partnering with the Buffalo Bills Foundation, Highmark, we had American Heart Association, tons of food, resources, oh my gosh, so many books. I can't even, sorry, I get very excited about that. The High School Showcase, that's coming up the end of September. The Urban Forum, consolidated application budget meetings, Title I community stakeholder meetings, et cetera. So there is a ton, and I believe I saw Ms. Barr.
Yeah, I'm just curious because your bullet point 9 looks like it's language that's repeated in some of these other things. And so it kind of seems redundant.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Ms. Barr. And yes, please, because like I said, that's a long list, and I know we cut it down last year and kind of, I'm looking at Supervisor Vaccaro here, because he's like, he had a lot of, we cut down and, combined a lot of things. So thank you. If you can just make sure again, Ms. Barr, to put that in the chat or in the feedback form. Because again, yes, that when we're partnering with BPS and Parent Congress, could we kind of combine that under the other bullet point there? Providing support to schools and developing and implementing parent engagement plans with effective strategies and activities that encourage successful interaction and engagement of families with teacher and other school personnel. And so what we've been doing this year, moving into the family engagement plans, so they are now being termed family engagement plans, but that they are aligned directly with the school comprehensive education plan. So this is a guiding rock document for many of our schools where they have an academic commitment, an academic goal that they have, but how are you doing that? Not just with working with the students, you're getting there because we know effective and successful family engagement leads directly to student success. So under those documents, you have the option to list some strategies that you're going to use to achieve that goal. One of those strategies we should see, how are you engaging families? What activity, what event, what resource, what type of family engagement are you going to be doing to help you reach that commitment? So we've been really working with schools to really, that link to learning, that's that terminology from the framework. And as I'm speaking of terminology, we know this policy it's meant for, yes, district, Board of Ed, but it's really meant for our families to read it and know what's going on. So if there is any wording that seems like this is not family friendly, or this could get, a little confused in the wording, that's also the type of feedback we really need. Okay. Oh, yep, we got a question in the audience here.
Does number 8 include Saturday academies?
Oh, did that not show up? Oh, it's back on my screen. It's not showing.
Like the BPS summit, like that's included
We can
here.
list them.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, sometimes I'm motivated to contribute when I have something I want to improve or complain about. But I want to celebrate the successes too, and Saturday academies have been phenomenal. My kids and I, we've built robots, we've had high tea for Mother's Day, we've gotten our faces painted. And our last one, we really reached the community, and we saw, dozens of students too. We had 500 people. We ran out of hot dogs and lunch at my girls' school. So if we could keep doing what you're doing with the Saturday academies, it's just been a great experience. And kids have gotten their hair cut, they've done science experiments. I can't speak highly enough about those. So include it.
Okay, and we will memorialize that, and I'm gonna wait till I get back to the Zoom here. So on the Zoom screen, they are looking at the actual list of all of the, you guys still have the QR code here in person, but for those on Zoom, we had one of our in-person members saying, hey, we should list Saturday academies there because they are fantastic. And here in person with us again, we have Dr. Alyssa Mafletto, who's the assistant superintendent over that, and Director Abby Walski, who is been fantastic overseeing community schools. So thank you, Director Wolski, and our strategic partners Say Yes for really collaborating to make those such impactful and amazing events to attend. Oh, we got more questions here. Oh,
Okay, to continue with the flow of strengths, right? One of the great things that also happened during Saturday Academies was the farmers markets. Those were huge. I feel like BPS really filled a need in the community, just to assist families, caretakers, youth, children. It was phenomenal. I'm not sure if there's other grants that could be found to sustain that initiative, but that's something that definitely was very impactful in the community. As a parent, as a caretaker, and as a community stakeholder, it was phenomenal. I do have some other suggestions or recommendations on page 5, going back to number 3, work in collaboration with BPS Congress, other parent leaders, as well as district community stakeholders to develop and monitor the district parent and family engagement plan. I'm not sure if there's a listserv of like community stakeholders or businesses um, that assist the BPS school, but it would be nice to have like a listserv of updates and what that entails within the community engagement plan so that we can stay up to date about what's going on in the schools. I know like flyers come out, the website is always changing, but it would be nice to have a newsletter or some kind of initiative to keep like community stakeholders up to date. Um, the other recommendation was provide a collaborative process, leadership training to parent Congress and other parents. So me and my coworker here, Ms. Ivana, she's the program coordinator for children and youth with special health care needs. And I am a mental health first aid instructor. And we were just, talking about how it would be great to be able to provide not only us with Erie County, but other organizations that are able to provide trainings for professional development to district parent groups, because it kind of fills that gap with number 2, which is provide a mechanism for parents and families to report concerns. Whew. So I formerly was a parent engagement liaison in the schools, and I heard a lot about the concerns. I myself also had some concerns. However, I had the skills to properly advocate for my child and for my own concerns. I feel like parents need to know their rights and need to understand that they are able to make a meeting with the principal or a teacher. Sometimes parents can't always attend a school meeting or attend the community events because of work and things like that. Um, but I know that safety and the sense of belonging has been a big issue in the Buffalo public school systems. And I know that security has been heavily implemented in the schools and metal detectors, but I still have gotten the sense of the students not feeling like they belong in the schools and still feeling like that sense of um, insecurity with their safety and not feeling safe or comfortable enough to attend school. So we still seeing a lot of lack of attendance in the schools, right? So it just makes me think that if we can make a better plan to better influence parents, stakeholders, teacher, administration to get certified, to learn more about mental health and how they can ensure the safety of their students. That will also kind of give, I guess, students an initiative that they know they can talk to someone that actually cares. That will say, you know what, I am busy right now, but let's schedule a time in to talk about this thing that's important to you so that you feel safe enough to come back to school the next day. Because other things that I hear from students, now I'm taking off the parent hat and just thinking about the youth in me as a Buffalo Public School alumni. Um, I felt encouraged to talk to my counselors about the issues that I had. But youth nowadays don't always feel like they're encouraged to talk about the concerns that they have. So it's not only like parents' concerns, it's also like students' concerns. So just just something in this policy with like district and student. How is this district handling student concerns, not only the parents' concerns? Thank you.
We have another question in the audience here. So, thank you. And this is, I mean, right around the family resource centers again. But just to the point, so we first were talking about some of the really great things going on. So those farmers markets, that was a tremendous effort by our BPS food service team. Um, Ruth, she's been fantastic, fantastic. And that's a collaborative effort, again, that was with a grant, the community schools. But honestly, the BPS food service team just knocked it out of the park with how they brought that together. And keep an eye out and make sure, because again, they will continue. And so because we knew that was a need, they were like, no, we're getting feedback from the community. This is tremendous. How are we going to keep this going? So I know even beyond the grant as well, that Director Wolski from our community schools team has been collaborating with food service and really, and we've got Mr. Jimmy Barnes, who's been doing a lot of the late work to just do all the in-between. So when you talk about this cross collaboration, this interdepartmental, breaking the silos that are happening, this is the work, and this is what impacts our community the most, right? Is when we come together on these projects. And the other piece was speaking around our parent leadership and the trainings that are being offered for our families. So the mental health and wellness, like the mental health advocates, right? Mental health first aid training. And yes, so it is an actual full certified course that is offered, and we have done some of those previously in the past through the parent centers. And it is something we were actually talking to some of our partners at Best Self as well. So we love, like, we're going to continue that conversation because that's exactly what we're looking to bring into the family resource centers. And then also the critical importance of student voice when we are talking about safety, health, and wellness. So, you know, although we're saying families and we're thinking, yeah, students are part of families, that's not always the thought. So maybe more intentionality in how we are also lifting the student voice. We have another question in the audience here.
So yeah, just a couple of points. One, as far as the farmers market thing, excellent. I'm a teacher in the district, and one of the things I found that the students enjoyed that's missing of the farm to fresh process is that we used to have the salad bars that were in there, and then when COVID came along and other things that kind of shut down, I know that was a big thing that they enjoyed and missed. It was a very nice salad bar that had all the little trimmings and toppings, and it was just something outside of the standard school lunch that was there that they may not enjoy, or it was a supplement too, and you're getting a lot of very fresh and good things. I know that's something that'll be nice to see maybe come back in some capacity related to that. The other part that was brought up, which I agree with as far as like student safety and wellness and concern as a teacher, is that there doesn't seem to be the time to want to do that. I try to provide as much time with student engagement and time for things that are going on. And you got like 2 or 3 counselors in a building, and you got 950 students in the building, and there is just not the time. And then there's the day-to-day emergency things that go on that are being handled at that moment, and circles and remediation, and then parents coming in. So I don't know necessarily a solution to that, but I'm definitely an advocate for wanting to be able to have that student time to work through what's going on and make them feel to want to be there, because part of the motto in my classroom is that the classroom is better when you're here. And so I want them here, and we want to see them here every day. And so to make that achievable is going to be a process, but time is very limited to try to address every student need and trying to work through those different things.
All right, thank you. And also what I'm hearing is some of the pieces of what we have for our district wellness policy as well. So we oftentimes collaborate and have discussions, because when we talk about, like, we're always talking about breaking silos. So we had one of our in-person members here who is a teacher was sharing their experience around, like, yes, the farmers markets were great, and that initiative to make sure there are salad bars. So those are two separate initiatives. So the farmers markets were a grant brought in. But again, I mean, when I talk about, like, Ruth Connor, our director over food service, I know that that was an initiative that she's like, tell me this, like, where do we need our salad bars? So I know that that was a growing project and how that's going to look. But I do know that our BPS food service department was just leading the charge of really, like you said, after COVID, we are still, I mean, yes, we're years there, but we're still living in the ripples, right? Like, and we're still living in a world where there's about 500 things that are constantly distracting us from the student safety piece that you were talking about as well. So that's where in our wellness policy that our social emotional wellness team, Dr. Sharon Brown, they are doing tremendous work. And I think hearing some of these voices too just continues to say, how can we collaborate on this? And how are we really working to bring families into these and that student voice again, listening to that student experience. Okay, thank you, and thank you for everybody hanging in here, because this is probably, I don't know, the most people that we've had show up in a while and the most feedback we've been, like, I'm very excited about this. Okay, anybody online? We're good. Okay, and to another point there, again, please make sure you are just jotting these things down. We are recording them and it will be on YouTube, and I'll go back and definitely review that. And there was another suggestion about having a listserv for some sort of newsletter that's giving some updates and things like that. So, I mean, I'm just, the ideas that are coming in here, thank you very much. Okay, so our next slide that we have here is talking about, so the school responsibilities. So you'll see a lot of overlap here in some of the work that's being done. And for those of you on Zoom, I will bring this up, and we're gonna put this one in the chat for you as well, so you can also pull it up on your own screen. And for those of you in person, don't forget there's water and cookies. Not exactly a salad bar, sorry guys. And if anybody wants to come back that you're on Zoom right now, but you have follow-up, you want to see us in real life, we're doing this again at 5 p.m., so you are more than welcome to show up again. And even those in person too. All right, so again, you're just gonna see a lot of that, the similarities, very similar verbiage, again, the co-creator. So this is just taking it deeper into the work, more of that individual level, that everything that we're doing at the district level, we are seeing that same follow through at the school level. So these are the agreements, the responsibilities that we are looking for through our schools. So you'll see, you're gonna keep seeing these words, these co-creators, advocates, and models, and talking about posters that are hanging up in the buildings. We gave each school a poster that says, "We welcome families as co-creators, models, advocates, mentors, models," and we also had those translated for schools to put up the translated versions around, because we want to know there are many ways we welcome families. And there was discussion around security measures, and we know we need to have safety in place, but again, how do we welcome families? How do we talk about that? We welcome you this way, please ring the buzzer, we're coming in this way. Oh, say hello to our wonderful SRO, say hello to our clerk. Like, how are we welcoming families but still maintaining that safety that we know we need to have? Again, the supporters, improve recruitment, training work, schedules to involve families as volunteers, encouragers and monitors, so involving families with their children in learning activities at home. And this is a lot of the work when we talk about those family engagement plans that are being developed at each school. How are they not just sending a bag home and expecting families to just, oh yeah, I know how to use all the, like, how are you having conversations around the literature that you're sending home? So instead of just sending it home, just like the teacher would do the lesson, oh, here, I'm gonna model the lesson. Now you have time to practice it. So providing that space to practice the skill that they learned at a family engagement event. So if they're doing something with their, reading for dibbles, for example, oh, we're really working on this vocabulary strategy. Okay, here, we're gonna practice this lesson together. Let's have conversations around it. Now you're gonna be able to take this home and do it again at home with your child. The communication piece, and again, we know, and that's honestly, that's one of our district comprehensive improvement plan, DSIP, priority 5, family engagement. Key strategies that we're really focusing on, again, is how are we always looking to grow, evolve, improve how we communicate to and with families. So really that two-way piece, that community collaboration, making sure that even within the schools, you are still looking at how are you, coordinating with community groups, businesses, agencies, and providing opportunities to share the strengths between the community and families, ensuring a positive impact on student success. So again, we're always looking at academic and that social emotional, the whole child with everything that we do. And I always, again, having that conversation with the community. And so you'll see, again, many similar pieces here, ensuring for a welcoming and culturally inclusive school environment. So for those of you that have been to many, many meetings, you'll also see, wow, that does sound similar to what we heard about wellness. That seems similar to what we heard about the CLRI committee. Like, everything we're doing, there's really just a very singular message about how we are going to welcome families, honoring that community cultural wealth, lifting student voice. So ensuring for mutual respect, communication, and accountability between school and parents. So when we do trainings, we do a lot of trainings on building trust and the components that define trust around family engagement through the dual capacity building framework. Because we do know, like, you're always building trust, and we're not gonna get anywhere until we're really working together and that trust is mutual. Sorry, that was a bit of a soapbox, okay. All right, hopefully I'm not putting people to sleep here. Collaborate with school parent leaders to establish a parent organization in each school that shall call at least one business meeting of the parent organization each year to encourage the inclusion of new parents into the organization. And so I know we had some questions earlier and some feedback regarding our district parent level groups. This maybe, we already have the verbiage in there for the school level, just putting the feedback together there. Electing officers and have regular meetings scheduled in consultation with parents and announced publicly, inviting all to attend. Be maintained as a viable entity to ensure that parents who are full partners in their child's education have an opportunity to be included in meetings and decision-making. So what does that look like? How are we planning meetings? Are we just, planning them because that's convenient for one entity? Or are we having a collaborative conversation when we're planning those meetings, looking at different times, different ways to attend? So again, the school is supporting families as they do this. So the PTO and PTA, those really are those parent-led groups. The parents are the leaders, but part of our parent congress groups, and I know some of our members of BPTO were working with parent groups in schools to help them get their PTOs, PTAs back up and running. So that's where tapping into your parent leadership, our parent engagement liaisons are getting training on supporting that and building that out. So this is, again, how, these are the school expectations, but as we just heard from a teacher here in BPS, the day-to-day gets crazy and you're just trying to put out fires sometimes and competing priorities, and that's like, you're just trying to make it happen. So as the family engagement team at the district level, we are always looking for ways to, again, how can we support and build capacity within our buildings? And involving parents and families to the planning and development of schools' family engagement plan. And this is where I can't emphasize enough, we are not just putting down signatures and gathering signatures or checking boxes. We are truly having a conversation and a collective, collaborative planning. And now, and again, this is also why this is super important for families to feel comfortable and with the verbiage and agree with the verbiage in here, because this is a board policy. And how do we proactively and positively and effectively have conversations around, we know what's best practice and we know we're rebuilding every day. How do we make this happen? And provide a mechanism for parents and families to report concerns. So even at the school level, how are we having those conversations? Any feedback on that one? Okay, we've got some of our in-person group here. How are we doing on Zoom? You guys still hanging in there? Okay, all right, we're going to our in-person here.
Thank you. Okay, so with number 5, involve parents, families in the planning and development of schools and family engagement plan, inclusive of budget, activities, family school compact, and policy. I feel like there should also include nutrition. So I've come across parents and I have concerns of how nutritional the food that students receive. And is there any way that parents can have some input, or students can have some input in their school lunches? When I go to events or even Saturday academies, sometimes a lot of the food gets thrown out. And I feel like if families and students had more voice and input on those menus, food wouldn't be wasted. Um, but I also wanted to speak on, like, for example, I'm one of the parents that does send my child to school with a lunch because she refuses to eat the school lunch sometimes. But she does take the 4 lunch. Some schools have provide a 4 lunch. But I have concerns about the 4 lunch because a lot of those items are dairy and she's lactose. Um, so if the school salad bars were in place, uh, and there would be more access to like fruits, I feel like that would be more nutritional for the students. Um, so just kind of like speaking on that. And the other one is establish a parent room in each school. Um, are we allocating funds accordingly to every school to have a parent room, not just a parent resource center? Because I know some of the zones and some of the schools have one. Um, but in those parent rooms, I don't feel like just having a meeting space is enough. If you want to keep parents coming in and keeping them engaged in the school, I feel like there should also be like food pantry area or personal hygiene area with basic needs products. Some schools have that, and it's amazing, and I can see why they still have parents heavily involved because they're meeting those parents' needs. But if we want to make sure that in each zone, in each school, parents are being engaged, providing some of those basic needs in the parent room where they don't have to ask somebody for it, where they can just reach and grab what they need and go about their day, is a necessity.
Okay, so we had some conversation around providing more wellness feedback, healthy eating feedback. So I will say again, and I cannot continue to lift up Director Connor, Ms. Ruth Connor with the BPS Food Service. I know this has been a huge initiative of hers. So I always know, like she's always saying, please give me feedback. Let me know, because she'll show up and work with her team to make sure that things are happening to the capacity that they can do right now. And so when we talk about ways to express your concerns at the school level, having those conversations and how is that welcoming. The other piece was the parent room, which has been a tremendous passion project for our team in the last year, because we do know that's the parent engagement liaison's office. So we worked with, again, collaboration, our IT department, instructional specialist, Kristen Miedas and Director Thompson and the entire IT team was just tremendous. They made sure that we had the computers and technology for the families to use, and they were set in kiosk mode, which means that you didn't need a special login to get in, so that there was again, we had the technology back in the parent rooms. We also, as a department, budget for coffee, some of these additional, sometimes we'll drop off water. We also collect books to provide. And I do know some of our parent engagement liaisons that have been here for the long haul have beautiful parent rooms. So I will say, and these are the examples that we show is that, hey, look, this is how we're setting up this space. So our team works really hard with that, but please always let us know too. So we're the ones to say, hey, we saw this space and they said this was the parent room, but this is how we are having hopes and dreams around the parent room. And that's where we work with the parent engagement liaison. So please always let us know, this is what's happening, because it is a collective effort to make sure that that space is welcoming for families. Thank you so much. And then we've got another in-person here.
So as schools have slowly become doing a better job of, I think, trying to welcome families back into the building, it's been a very nuanced thing because some schools have maybe done it sooner than others. It seems like it's been principal directive, and I guess where they're at with that engagement of having that in there. But when it comes to the supporting part of it, of having families and having that engagement going on more, um, is there a limitation in with that? Like, are schools allowed to have so as like a teacher, like we have like a room mom or a dad or a family member that, may be willing to want to volunteer and just be in the classroom and be present. Like I'm not afraid of parents being in my room. That's me speaking personally, but some may feel different about it. But I mean, I know those things do exist to where, you might have a parent that might come in and be there for a couple of hours and be a part of the learning and be a part of what's going on and just kind of building that sense of community. Is that something that's permissible? What other things are going on with that? Because sometimes you might get a feeling or a different directive based on the principal that might be at that building of what they feel about it or their comfortability of it. And then, it's like, okay, now we have this many classrooms and parents. And then, so the other component I wanted to ask about as well as after school, as someone that has been doing after school for 15 years and kind of helping to be a part of that. What level can we have of parent involvement when it comes to after school? I know Best Self kind of oversees that. I know there is some district funding that's infused in certain schools for certain programs, but overall, in what way could parents be part of that component of supporting it? And then finally, even field trips. It always seemed tough to have parents that might want to be a part of a field trip, and it all sometimes turns as a big to do. I don't really have a problem with it, but again, I'm only in this position of decision making of it. But I know some parents would enjoy coming on the bus and going on a field trip and being a part of it. But where does the district or even school-based level stand with some of those particular things?
everyone on Zoom, and I'm kind of like smiling and nodding right now about that. So we had questions around volunteers and having parents or family members as volunteers in classrooms, and some schools may be experiencing that differently. Field trip questions. So we are actually in the process right now, and we've had many, many meetings, a year of meetings about a volunteer handbook that is the volunteer expectations throughout the entire district. So we just did a meeting with the principals, when was that, Tuesday? Yeah, earlier this week, where our Office of School Leadership, Director Dixon and Supervisor Larashi, who Amy Larashi is the one really working on the field trip piece of it. And then the volunteer handbook has truly been a collaborative process between school leadership, our department, our human resources department. And I'm just going to put this out here now as well, that it'll be an online volunteer form, so please look out for trainings. We will be offering several trainings to make sure that families are comfortable completing this form, that our administrators are knowing what to do. So just keep your ear out for that. And that, again, the volunteer would only need to be fingerprinted if it was an overnight or out-of-state trip. So I know that there's been, some mixed messages, so I just wanna always put that out there as much, and so keep an eye out, there will be a volunteer handbook that aligns with the volunteer policy or the volunteer regulations 3150 that our school leadership does. So I know we're numbers here, but yes, the volunteer process. So I know we've been hanging out here for a while. We do have our last piece here is our family engagement piece, and where the expectations and responsibilities for our parents and families. So hang in there. I am going to get the right screen sharing back up here for our in-person folk. Any questions? Oh, and we had one more audience here while I transition. Well, we're getting our steps in.
I would like to see maybe just, yeah, like a practice that's the same between schools. So, and not to feel like parent engagement kind of drops off with the older kids, and maybe not leave them out. My girls' school was amazing. In August, they passed out the volunteer forms, because I think it does take 3 weeks to process, to be like okayed. And they do a really great job of inviting families in, whether it's to come read books or go on field trips. But I did have noticed there is a difference between schools, how engaged parents are invited to be. But going into 11th grader, I have noticed there really is zero opportunity, I felt like, for me to go in, and where, I mean, it's fun and cute or whatever for preschool, that maybe 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders could use a room parent or could use a fun, trip to Kleinhans or Tift or something. So to keep them in mind, I think of field trips for littles, but I think we all benefit.
Okay, and so that was, again, just some more feedback around the field trips, and really where we see some of our family engagement dropping off a little bit more in high school, and what opportunities are we offering at high school. And I see some of our high school parent engagement liaisons here with us today that I know have been working really hard to build that out in their buildings in a collaborative way with their administrators, but again, always looking to grow that. I am going to pull up here the parent and family responsibilities, and that will be our final discussion topic here. All right, anybody online with questions, comments, hopes and dreams, feedback? Okay. All right, so we have the parent and family responsibilities, and again, this is currently what's in board policy. So we talk about, again, the critical importance of family engagement, and we know that that means several different things. So parents are requested to ensure that children attend school and classes on time every day. Ensure that children are prepared for class and ready to learn. Ensure for mutual respect, communication, and accountability between parent and school. Ensure that children show respect to school staff, other students, and school property. Ensure that children complete classwork to the best of their ability and devote additional study time outside of school hours. Provide a learning environment to support homework completion and actively monitor children's homework. Remain informed about opportunities and whenever possible, participate in school and district level shared decision-making. So this was not quite as an elaborate, big, long list, but 7 points right here that are part of the policy currently, and any thoughts, feedback? Oh, I see Ms. Baker online here. Oh, yeah, we had a couple more too, sorry.
Good morning. So in reference to the parent piece, as you know, I'm already working on a resource guide for our school for parents. And I kept trying to figure out, I was like, oh, engagement, involvement, they are two different things. But as far as the parents' responsibilities, I think we need to take ourselves completely out of our comfortable environment. That includes me being in the school and parents feeling like they're being thrown in a school environment because we don't know how their school environment was when they grew up. So in order to do that, I was thinking about doing more of core building exercises of doing parent volunteer for things for other families that may be less fortunate, like city missions, shelters, Compass House, doing trash pickup. But all these things are not just geared towards what we want them to do, but more building a relationship of the group of parents that are here to be comfortable and feeling that they can trust other parents to listen to what's going on, to have feedback, because that really is what helps parents. It helps me as a parent when my son was in high school. The children that are here every day teach me more how to be a better parent. And I know if we are parents, growing as we grow, because we're continuously growing, we need to leave ourselves vulnerable and open to that opportunity to build relationships to make us better. Because we have flaws and we don't know all the answers, but we are going to be able to work together collaboratively to build that if we have exercises like that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Baker, and again, one of our amazing parent engagement liaisons. And I know it was just feedback and also, but yes, I mean, again, meeting families where they are, and that doesn't always mean inviting them to our home all the time. We're going out in the community and doing that work and having those conversations. Thank you, Ms. Baker. And again, there were the last few here, but again, attending meetings, the family engagement. So a lot of it's kind of, you see where everybody's kind of got those same expectations, school district and families, and respectfully communicate, reporting concerns, and how can you do that in a way that you feel heard, that it's effective, things like that. Any additional thoughts, feedback on this section? Okay. All right, and again, I know we're a little bit over time here. Please use that form again. We'll drop it in the chat another time for you here, and I am going to pull up the form for you here. Okay. And then we'll drop that in the chat for you again. And for anybody that is looking at the presentation, you can also enter the link. So this was our final feedback survey here that has been shared a few times. And again, this is also on the buffalopublicschools.org, right at the top of their website. You can review the video from today, and we will be continuously sharing this feedback survey. But does anybody, any final, okay, and I do see Lisa asking again if there's a list of community partners to access, and we had a similar question here is kind of who are some of the strategic community partners that we have? Who are the grassroots organizations we're working with? What's out there? So creating some sort of list like that. And again, how are we sharing it? So we've heard some really great ideas about, you know, newsletters, getting things out there, posting it, getting our parent engagement liaisons into the community a little bit more. So thank you, Lisa, for that. It's definitely, again, great suggestions and feedback for what we can continue to build.
I'll see if I can find the link for the compendium. Place that in the chat.
Yes, yep, there is, our social emotional wellness department does have the compendium. And actually, thank you, Dr. Reynolds, that just reminded me, our social emotional wellness department also has a map. And if you scroll over the map, the different organizations come up. So I think there's a couple different ways, and just making sure that we're communicating that in multiple ways. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks for hanging in there with us. Anybody, and just to make sure before anybody online signs off that you have put your name and your role in the chat. So really, again, just your name, and if, you know, parent, community member, BPS staff and parent, BPS staff, anything there, just to please make sure you get that in the chat. Okay, and then there we go. There's our feedback form again in the chat for you. All right, in-person folks, online folks, thank you so much. Again, I'm not even exaggerating this. This is probably the biggest turnout that we've had, and this was just our 10 a.m. meeting. So again, if you can make it in person this evening, you can always come back on Zoom again and join us if you're like, oh, I really wanted to provide this. But again, always use that feedback form. And I see, thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Lisa, Dr. Reynolds has put that in there. Thank you. And again, this is what we're saying, like, we have so many great things that are happening in Buffalo. We have so many great things happening within the community, within the district. And how are we getting that out to families in a way that we're like, oh, wow, I knew that was happening now. We're always looking at growing that. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody. And if there is nothing further, those again in person, please take some cookies and water. And for those of you online, thank you again. All right.